The series begins in 1993 with J2, a super famous music group. At that time, their coolest member was Yoonjae. He was super talented but always in trouble, especially with dating rumors. Suddenly, he left his group and he vanished. People thought he might have died because he was never found again. Meanwhile, in 2017, there was a woman named Choi Woo-sung, who was getting extra help with a test to become a government worker. But turns out, she went by the name Lee Ji-hoon during these study sessions. It turns out that Woo-sung always filled in for her friend Ji-hoon at these study sessions. Meanwhile, Ji-hoon had a secret life as a trainee at an entertainment company, and even his family didn't know about it. This secret made him seem like a famous singer, so fans were really disappointed when they found out he wasn't their favorite idol. One day, fans stopped recognizing Ji-hoon as a fake oppa, which means older brother or crush. But in reality, he was their beloved idol, who went by the stage name MJ. As Ji-hoon pursued his dream of becoming an idol, he worried that his efforts might be wasted. At the same time, Woo-sung was busy with her studies and part-time job. Even with her packed schedule, she tried to cheer up her friend by making videos in her roommate and Na's police uniform. But things got awkward when Na walked in with Woo-sung's boyfriend, Yoon-ki, and they started making out right in front of Woo-sung, who was trying to hide. In that unhappy moment, Woo-sung remembered the video she had sent. At that time, Yoon-ki's phone was nearby, and now it was in his hand. But a moving box alerted them to Woo-sung's presence. She was wearing a Na's uniform, which made her want to stay hidden in the box and run away. While she was busy trying Yoon-ki's passcode, she ended up getting caught by the police, who thought she was impersonating an officer. At the same time, Ji-hoon and his friend Drill, who was also a trainee, decided to go to a nightclub. There, Ji-hoon tried to boost his self-confidence by dancing. However, his dancing got him accused of harassment. At the police station, he met Woo-sung, who was being accused of impersonating a police officer. Soon after, Na showed up with Yoon-ki, asking for his phone back.
야! 전화 안 내놔?
내 사랑의 총알을 받아라. 빵야! 빵야! 너무 고마워.
This embarrassing and sad incident made Woo-sung not want to return to that house again. However, she was eventually persuaded to accept Ji-hoon's help and secretly live in his house, just like Drill had been doing all this time. Back in 1933, we find Yoonjae living in the same room as Ji-hoon in the future. He had a plan to hide after news of him leaving the group. One strange night, Yoonjae accidentally slipped down the stairs, and this unusual incident took him through time. He almost got hit by a car and met Drill, Woo-sung, and Ji-hoon, who all had the same kind of watch as him. This made Yoonjae faint, even though Woo-sung had only stepped on his hand. But when he got to the hospital, the doctor said he was just fast asleep. Soon after, they decided to leave while waiting for news from the hospital. When they got to Ji-hoon's place, Woo-sung slept in a small warehouse. The next day, Yoonjae finally woke up and remembered his last memories. He didn't realize what had happened and tried to go out with his face covered. But it turned out that nobody knew who this forgotten artist was nowadays. He was shocked when journalists didn't recognize him, and the outside world looked very different from what he knew. Suddenly, someone seemed to be talking to Yoonjae, who understood his feelings about the changed world. However, it turned out that the person was actually on the phone with someone else, which made Yoonjae feel even more out of place. Then things started to make a bit more sense when he saw the year 2017 on a clock. He was very impressed by all the advanced technology, but people's reactions to his old-fashioned appearance made him think he looked cool. Yoonjae was looking for a public telephone when someone lent him a cell phone. However, he had only seen cell phones on TV, so he felt like a strange person. Meanwhile, Ji-hoon helped Woo-sung collect his things from Na's house. At the hospital, they could only listen to news about the person they had accidentally hit. On the other hand, Yoonjae is getting more and more confused because he still can't believe he has traveled through time. Soon after, he's trying to find his manager, Lee Kwon-jae. On his way, he spotted a car that looked exactly like his, and to his surprise, the car keys he had with him showed that it belonged to him. The changed streets make Yoonjae feel lost, not knowing where he is. Just then, Woo-sung, who had just woken up, startled them with a scream. Woo-sung's commotion caused chaos on the main road. When they suddenly stopped, it made them accidentally kiss, which led to Woo-sung getting angry at Yoon-jae. There, Ji-hoon and Drill, who didn't see the car, could only give up and blame Woo-sung for leaving them. Finally, Woo-sung realized that the man in front of them was the person they had accidentally hit the previous night, and their broken car left them stranded without help until the evening. Even in such a situation, she found time to study, which annoyed Yoon-jae even more. His annoyance grew when Woo-sung made fun of his old-fashioned appearance. Eventually, a tow truck arrived to help them. On the way, Yoon-jae was once again amazed by the advanced features of Woo-sung's cell phone. The damaged car caused them to accidentally kiss again, which made them both feel disgusted.
야, 깜빡이! 깜빡이! 이거까지 왜 이래?
Then, while waiting for Woo-sung, who was in the bathroom, Yoon-jae overheard someone mentioning the name Lee Kwang-jae. He decided to follow that person and left Woo-sung behind. Yoon-jae had to rely on Woo-sung's GPS directions, which led him to Ji-hoon's house. Seeing many familiar faces, including Kwang-jae, they brought up past events that had messed up their lives. They talked about the time when Yoon-jae had let them down by selling all his songs to another company. Yoon-jae was now looking for the money he had earned from that betrayal. Meanwhile, Woo-sung was upset with Yoon-jae for leaving her and kept trying to call her cell phone, which was now in Yoon-jae's hands. By accident, Yoon-jae found out that he had been declared dead in 1994 when he was 24 years old. He had come from 1993, so he was scared to know that he would die next year. The next morning, he tried to come to terms with his fate and went back to his studio, which was in Ji-hoon's room. He wanted to stay there to find a way back to 1993. Yoon-jae's sudden appearance made Woo-sung lose control of his emotions, and they almost fell, leading to another accidental kiss. Both Woo-sung and Yoon-jae were disgusted by this incident. Woo-sung decided to seek revenge and started causing a scene, as did Drill, who thought his car had been stolen. Then, Yoon-jae began making up lies, claiming that he had lost all his memories since the accident. Naturally, Woo-sung and Drill didn't believe him and called him a liar. So they took him to the police station to verify his real identity. There they laughed when they found out Yoon-jae's real name was Yoo Bong-jae, and they were surprised to learn that he was actually 47 years old, born in 1971. Bong-jae's death in 1994 made the police think there was a mistake, and they asked them to visit the civil registry office to sort things out. The process of trying to figure out Yoon-jae's true identity took a lot of time, so Ji-hoon decided to let him stay at his place temporarily until he remembered who he was. At that time, Yoon-jae was a bit arrogant and even asked to sleep in the bed, so they decided to settle it with a game. Surprisingly, Drill and Ji-hoon lost the game badly, while Woo-sung and Yoon-jae kept going strong. Even with Kwang-jae there, they didn't give up. It was during this time that Yoon-jae overheard Ji-hoon calling Kwang-jae dad. There, Yoon-jae's loss of concentration eventually led to his own defeat, but in the end, Ji-hoon still allowed him to sleep in the bed. The next day, Ji-hoon continued to remind Yoon-jae to be cautious and not get caught staying in his room. After feeling cooped up in the room, Yoon-jae wanted to go outside and accidentally came across a woman named Hong Bo-hee. She turned out to be Ji-hoon's mother, a former singer who had been in a dating scandal with him. Yoon-jae was at a loss for words when he discovered that the woman and her manager had children together. Behind the scenes, someone was spying on Bo-hee's activities. His name was Park Young-jae, the owner of the company Ji-hoon belonged to and a member of the J2 group, which was not as successful as Yoon-jae's. At that moment, Bo-hee's sudden trip to the bathroom made Yoon-jae step out, as he was intrigued by her cell phone. This surprised Young-jae when he saw Yoon-jae's face on her phone after Yoon-jae accidentally took a selfie while playing with it.
어떻게 된 거야?
이게 왜 여기지? 현재.
Then, another fact was revealed that Lee Soon-tae used to be the boss of Yoon-jae at the entertainment company where G2 was signed. Nowadays, this elderly man is feeling really sad because a friend of his passed away. He started to lose hope and thought it might be his time to go. Just then, he got a big surprise when he saw Yoonjae, who looked kind of like the Grim Reaper. Scared, Soontae changed his mind and said he wasn't ready to leave this world. Kwon-jae, who witnessed this, thought Soontae must have had too much to drink. At the same time, Yoonjae was looking for food and accidentally bumped into Woo-sung, who was busy working and knew that Yoonjae was into cell phones. Woo-sung even offered to buy him a new cell phone if he could help finish her work. When they went home together, it made Ji-hoon a bit jealous. The next day, Soontae still couldn't believe that what happened yesterday was real. Bovi, on the other hand, tried to stay positive about the photo incident. At the same time, Ji-hoon's family gave him lots of support and encouragement for his upcoming exam, which made him feel guilty because he had been secretly training to become an idol all this time. In return, Ji-hoon gave sincere encouragement and prayers to Woo-sung. During the exam, Woo-sung suddenly had to use the restroom, which made her unable to finish all the questions. Meanwhile, Ji-hoon, who was being evaluated, didn't manage to debut again, even though he was very talented. Then Woo-sung and Ji-hoon shared their disappointments with each other about their efforts so far. Their conversation made Woo-sung burst into tears, and Ji-hoon hugged his friend to comfort her. At that time, Yoonjae happened to witness their close moment. Without feeling awkward, Woo-sung tried to cheer up again, but secretly, she was upset with Yoonjae for giving her expired chocolate. Ji-hoon was shocked when he saw that the chocolate had expired in 1993. Yoonjae defended himself, saying that he had eaten the same chocolate and didn't get sick like Woo-sung did it. Unfortunately, when Woo-sung tried to punch Yoonjae, he accidentally hit Drill, who was trying to break up the fight. The next day, Yoonjae was feeling pretty bored with what he was doing there. He started to wonder where his money had gone all this time. The more time passed, the more he became curious about his disappearance back in 1994. So he came up with a plan to investigate by going to the last place he was seen according to the news. He asked Woo-sung for help, and he promised to give her money, but she didn't believe Yoonjae and made him swear on video. However, when he got to the place, Yoonjae still couldn't figure out anything. The time passing and being stuck in the future just left him with questions about why he disappeared in 1994. Meanwhile, Woo-sung, who was enjoying some alone time, accidentally got herself into a funny situation. At that moment, Yoonjae, who saw her fall, just watched the whole thing happen. And turns out, Yoonjae's help and concern were actually for Woo-sung's cell phone and not for her. During this incident, Woo-sung's contact lenses fell out and she couldn't see well. While waiting for Woo-sung, who was in the bathroom, Yoonjae accidentally heard a song he had made but never released. He also learned that the song was sung by MJ and decided to find out who stole the song. On the flip side, when Woo-sung came back, she didn't see Yoonjae around, so she asked Ji-hoon for help again. Luckily, not too long after that, Yoonjae returned and offered to guide them home. There, Ji-hoon kept waiting for Woo-sung to show up. In the usual way, in situations like this, Woo-sung had to work part-time. He also used Yoonjae's presence to help him out. While doing so, Yoonjae noticed the presence of MG, the singer who had stolen his song. When the passionate fans saw their idol being attacked, they immediately fought back against Yoonjae, causing a big commotion and getting Woo-sung fired once again. At the same time, MJ told Yoonjae that someone knew he wasn't the real songwriter. MJ also noticed that this person looked a lot like Yoonjae. Soon after, Woo-sung had come back looking for Ji-hoon there, but Ji-hoon had gone looking for her in the city. He seemed really worried about her, who couldn't see well. Shortly after, Woo-sung called Ji-hoon and asked where he was. Ji-hoon had to tell a little lie and act a bit arrogant, saying he didn't have time to worry about her. Deep down, though, he was secretly relieved to know that Woo-sung had made it home safely. On the other hand, Kwon-jae was carrying Bo-hee, who had too much to drink. But Kwon-jae actually needed to use the restroom, so he left her for a bit. Meanwhile, Yoonjae, who was on his way to pick up a bag left at a convenience store by Woo-sung, stumbled upon the drunk Bo-hee. He couldn't just leave her alone, so he had to carry her. When Kwon-jae saw this, he started chasing after Yoonjae. Suddenly, Kwon-jae got a good look at Yoonjae's face for the first time and seemed really surprised. This encounter led to Kwon-jae hitting Yoonjae. All of this somehow triggered memories for Kwon-jae about a past incident when Bo-hee, who used to be in the entertainment industry, ran away because she was pregnant. At that time, he couldn't express his anger towards her and took it out on Yoon-jae instead. Then, Kwon-jae asked Bo-hee to register the baby as his own child, even though he had one-sided feelings for her. He promised to protect Bo-hee and take Yoon-jae's place as her manager. His anger towards Yoon-jae led to the fight. During this altercation, Yoon-jae revealed that he was carried away by a storm into the future and had been living above their house. However, he didn't know much about what had happened. He even teased Kwon-jae, who now had a child with Bo-hee, but Kwon-jae couldn't tolerate it and ended up hitting him. Kwon-jae, who still held a grudge against Yoon-jae, refused to accept his presence and kicked him out, telling him to return to his own world.
야, 그게 무슨...
The next day, Kwon-jae approached Yoon-jae and asked him to find a way to go back to the past, just like how he ended up in the future. Yoon-jae's departure brought relief to Kwon-jae, but unfortunately, their attempts to send him back failed.
하나, 둘, 셋 하면 밀어줘. 셋! 성공이야! 아이씨, 진짜 죽을 뻔했네. 이거 봐!
They tried over and over again, but by nighttime, they still hadn't succeeded. There, Yoon-jae tried to explain to Kwon-jae that there must be a reason he got stuck in the future, possibly linked to his disappearance in 1994. However, Kwon-jae didn't find this strange because Yoon-jae had a habit of running away from things. Instead of feeling guilty, Yoon-jae became upset when he realized his cell phone was damaged from falling down the stairs earlier. Around the same time, Woo-sung unexpectedly saw someone who looked like Ji-hoon on the street. Thinking it was him, she hugged the person's head tightly, only to discover it wasn't Ji-hoon but MJ. There, Woo-sung apologized and quickly ran away, accidentally dropping her small book. MJ, upon seeing the name Woo-sung, which sounded like a champion's name, couldn't help but laugh. The next day, Yoon-jae took Woo-sung to the bank to give her the money he had promised. Unfortunately, they found out that the bank where the check was issued had gone out of business, and the deadline to deposit it had passed. So Yoon-jae made another promise to Woo-sung via video, saying that if he couldn't repay the debt, he would have to become her servant. Soon after, Woo-sung continued her part-time job as usual, but she lost her job because her boss's business went bankrupt. After that, Woo-sung invited some friends to drink together, but as she got drunk, she started acting funny. Her strange behavior finally stopped when she fell asleep. During that time, someone carried Woo-sung to her room and gave her a kiss on the cheek. Woo-sung woke up briefly and only saw the person's jacket. The next day, MJ ran into Woo-sung again. He made fun of her name and handed her a note before leaving. Later, after finishing her studies, Woo-sung was visited by Ji-hoon, who needed her help. While Ji-hoon was talking, Woo-sung accidentally focused on his lips, making her wonder if it was Ji-hoon who had kissed her that night. Soon after, Woo-sung helps Ji-hoon pick out a birthday gift for his dad. At the same time, Kwon-jae goes to work and takes Yoon-jae with him to buy clothes. They all end up in the same place, and Yoon-jae teases Woo-sung about her silly behavior from the night before when she was drunk. He even admits that when she's had too much to drink, she might kiss anyone. These words suddenly make Woo-sung realize that it was Yoon-jae who kissed her that night. In that same location, both Ji-hoon and Yoon-jae participate in a competition. Ji-hoon impresses everyone with his cool performance, and Yoon-jae surprises Woo-sung and Ji-hoon with his singing and dancing skills. He does so well that he wins first place and gets the latest model cell phone as a prize. Just then, Ji-hoon scolds Yoon-jae for wearing a watch that Ji-hoon claims belongs to him. Yoon-jae tries to defend himself by pointing out his initials on the watch, but Ji-hoon reveals that it was a watch left behind by his late father. At that moment, Kwon-jae arrives and asks Ji-hoon why he's there. On that same night, Ji-hoon borrowed Yoon-jae's jacket, and it turns out that Ji-hoon was the one who carried and kissed Woo-sung that night. It was a secret all along that Ji-hoon had feelings for his best friend. When Ji-hoon's father unexpectedly showed up, Ji-hoon was shocked, and he became even more surprised when his father suddenly grabbed Yoon-jae. Everyone was curious about their conversation since they were meeting for the first time. There, Kwon-jae scolded Yoon-jae for not listening to him, and during this confrontation, Yoon-jae asked about the watch Ji-hoon claimed was a family heirloom from his late father. Kwon-jae finally revealed the truth that Ji-hoon was not his son, but actually Yoon-jae's son. Ji-hoon was left in disbelief and confusion until he talked to Kwon-jae. Interestingly, Yoon-jae didn't know that he was in a relationship with Bo-hee. It seems that their love story hadn't even started in 1993, which is the year Yoon-jae time traveled. So he had a hard time believing Kwon-jae's stories. Kwon-jae, who already harbored strong resentment, once again asked Yoon-jae to return to his own world, as he believed it was the best thing for everyone. Throughout the day, Yoon-jae struggles to come to terms with the fact that Ji-hoon is his son. He finds it hard to accept and believe. To fill his time, Yoon-jae decides to call Woo-sung, who is busy working, just to have a chat. Although Woo-sung was initially upset, she comes up with an idea to get Yoon-jae's help with her work in exchange for reducing Yoon-jae's debt. During their time together, Yoon-jae accidentally witnesses Woo-sung getting angry and crying for the first time. Her mother, who hadn't been in touch for a while, suddenly asked for money without inquiring about her well-being. There, Yoon-jae listens to Woo-sung's frustrations and lets her express her feelings without judgment. On their way home, Yoon-jae asks Woo-sung about Ji-hoon. Woo-sung reveals that Ji-hoon has been hiding the fact that he's training to become an idol from his family. Although his family recognizes his talent, they disapprove of his dreams in the entertainment industry, considering them undesirable. The following day, Drill asked Yoon-jae to retrieve Ji-hoon's things from a locker at the company where he trained. Unfortunately, Yoon-jae, not paying attention, mistakenly handed Ji-hoon's belongings to his father.
뭐냐? 별거 아닌데.
Thinking it was a gift of shoes he had prepared beforehand. Luckily, Kwon-jae hadn't opened the gift yet. There, Yoon-jae realized his mistake when he saw the shoes and understood that Ji-hoon had given him the wrong item, something that could reveal he had been secretly practicing as a trainee. To fix the situation, Yoon-jae entered Kwon-jae's room to switch the items. However, he got stuck in the bathroom because Bo-hee was also present at the same time. Soon after, Kwon-jae went to Ji-hoon's academy to bring him food, causing Ji-hoon to rush from the company to his tutoring session. Thankfully, this didn't raise any suspicions with Kwon-jae, but he was surprised to see Woo-sung there. Meanwhile, Yoon-jae remained trapped in the bathroom. Things got even more complicated when Bo-hee tried to open the door for Soon-tae, who needed to use the bathroom. However, Soon-tae ended up wetting his pants when the door opened, and Yoon-jae hid in the ventilation shaft. That evening, Bo-hee was getting ready for the anniversary of Yoon-jae's death, which happened to fall on Kwon-jae's birthday. As they paid their respects and surprised Kwon-jae, Yoon-jae accidentally fell from the ventilation shaft. Ji-hoon quickly claimed that he was a friend of his. At that time, Kwon-jae didn't stay quiet and immediately covered Yoon-jae's face, but they could still see it. When Bo-hee asked if he was Yoon-jae, Kwon-jae denied it while showing Yoon-jae's face clearly. There, Yoon-jae admitted that he often heard that he looked like that artist. Soon-tae finally realized who had surprised him, and from that incident, Kwon-jae found Ji-hoon's trainee card that had fallen there. At the same time, Ji-hoon scolded Yoon-jae, which resulted in him getting caught hiding someone. Yoon-jae defended himself by saying it all happened because Ji-hoon had concealed his activities as a trainee. Then, Kwon-jae arrived and scolded Ji-hoon, who had spent 3 years as a trainee while claiming to be studying for a civil servant job. Kwon-jae also told him to give up on that unpromising dream. Just then, Drill and Woo-sung, who had been eavesdropping, were finally discovered to be living there too. In moments like that, Ji-hoon apologized. Yoon-jae angrily begged Kwon-jae to let Ji-hoon pursue his dreams, and finally admitted that Ji-hoon got his character from him. At that moment, Kwon-jae was very upset, and made it clear that Ji-hoon was his son now, and he wouldn't let his son live a life like Yoon-jae's. Suddenly, Yoon-jae mentioned the money he had been searching for, and asked Kwon-jae for help in locating it. The following day, Ji-hoon decided to confess everything to his family. He admitted that he hadn't been studying, and been living in his room with 3 friends. He also pleaded with his father to let his friend live with them. Bo-hee finally got to meet Drill and Woo-sung, who were the sons of her previous stylist and Ji-hoon's childhood friends. Bo-hee happily helped do Woo-sung's makeup for his interview. Yoon-jae, upon seeing Woo-sung's appearance, didn't hesitate to compliment her beauty with a straight face. Soon after, Bo-hee met Yoon-jae again, and he continued to act awkward around her. Yoon-jae's presence at the bakery caught the attention of Soon-tae and his granddaughter named Mal-suk, who kept staring at him. Soon-tae was confident that the man was the same Yoon-jae he used to know. Shortly after, Woo-sung went to an entertainment company for an interview, and was surprised to find out that MJ would be conducting the interview. During the interview, Woo-sung faced unusual questions, like being asked to sing and dance, and MJ was shocked when he saw her face, finding humor in the meaning of her name. Meanwhile, Soon-tae and Kwang-jae had to set aside their pride and borrow money from Young-jae, because they were at risk of losing their building if they couldn't pay their debts. There, Young-jae brought up past events where they had paid more attention to Yoon-jae than to him. However, despite feeling overlooked, Young-jae, who had achieved success, decided to lend them the money. Around the same time, Young-jae received a list of trainees who didn't make it to their debut. Kwang-jae noticed Ji-hoon's name on the list, but he was more concerned about Ji-hoon's well-being than the financial aspect. There, scolded Young-jae for not recognizing the potential and talent in people. Kwang-jae confidently stated that he wouldn't accept Young-jae's money, even if it were given for free. Meanwhile, Woo-sung found herself in the wrong room for her interview, resulting in a delay that led to negligence on her part. Then, Young-jae shared information about people who knew that MJ wasn't the real songwriter of his songs. He obtained a part-time worker's contact information from the convenience store owner and connected with Woo-sung. Their close proximity eventually brought them together. Woo-sung successfully got a job at the company, and it was all because Young-jae wanted to keep an eye on her. As a token of appreciation for their help, Woo-sung wanted to treat them to a meal. On the other hand, Ji-hoon, upon hearing that Yoon-jae was present at the gathering, quickly made up an excuse to leave. He happened to run into Do-hae-ri, a trainee set to debut soon. Their relationship started because he had always worried about her well-being. Their chance meeting at the convenience store led to them eating together. Just then, Woo-sung and Yoon-jae arrived, also wanting to dine at the restaurant. However, what surprised everyone was when Hae-ri confessed her feelings for Ji-hoon. Upon seeing their arrival, Ji-hoon immediately tried to explain the situation. But since they didn't hear Hae-ri's declaration of love, they thought Ji-hoon was exaggerating. At that time, he continued to find it hard to take his eyes off Woo-sung. On the other hand, Hae-ri noticed this but wasn't hurt by it. On the way home, they spent some time playing with a claw machine. During this time, Woo-sung playfully teased Ji-hoon to pay attention to Hae-ri, and he felt jealous of the bond between Woo-sung and Yoon-jae. The next day, Yoon-jae and Kwang-jae finally teamed up to find the money. Yoon-jae emphasized to Kwang-jae that he was the Yoon-jae from 1993, not the one who disappeared in 1994. He also showed him a songbook that he hadn't seen before, which contained songs that had become hits nowadays because Young-jae had stolen them. The book also had mysterious writing in it, suggesting that the money might still be in the room. Behind this, it turned out that the book Yoon-jae had lost in 1994 was in Young-jae's possession, as he had actually stolen the songs. At the same time, Ji-hoon told Woo-sung that he's considering giving up on his dreams. During this moment, Woo-sung playfully teases him by suggesting that Hae-ri would be disappointed to hear that. Feel like he can't keep it to himself any longer, Ji-hoon finally confesses that he has feelings for someone. To Woo-sung's surprise, the person he likes turns out to be someone she knows. Unfortunately, Ji-hoon hasn't found the right moment to express his feelings until now. He initially planned to do it at school, but the presence of Woo-sung's new boyfriend made him change his mind. As he grew older, Ji-hoon wanting to confess his feelings again, but various distractions like noisy dogs, honking horns, and even bird droppings prevented him from doing so. Despite not reciprocating his feelings, Woo-sung tries to encourage him not to give up. While working, Woo-sung accidentally runs into MJ and offers to help, but this results in her hurting her wrist. However, it turns out that it was MJ's plan all along, as he wanted Woo-sung to sign his album instead. The next day, Yoon-jae decides to take on a part-time job at Bohe's bakery and introduces himself as Kim Da-bong. Before getting busy with work, he spends some enjoyable moments with Woo-sung and Ji-hoon. During this time, Woo-sung even admires Yoon-jae's handsome appearance after he changes his hairstyle. Yoon-jae finds some coins on the street and takes Woo-sung to play at the claw machine. After successfully winning a doll, he gets it to her, which makes Ji-hoon jealous once again. The following day, Yoon-jae starts working at the bakery, but Kwang-jae adds him to his duties as a road manager, accompanying small artists in place of Kwang-jae. When Woo-sung hears about this, it reminds her of the delicious food she had with Yoon-jae in the city he was planning to visit. She also mentions that it was the last meal she had with her father before he left, a story that sticks with Yoon-jae. He stumbles upon a restaurant that closely resembles Woo-sung's tale. Upon returning home, Yoon-jae bluntly tells Woo-sung to leave immediately. At the same time, Ji-hoon and Kwon-jae share a drink. There, Kwon-jae opens up about what had upset him, which was Ji-hoon becoming a trainee at Young-jae's company. Kwon-jae can only apologize for his selfishness, acknowledging that he has no right to stop Ji-hoon, especially since he's not his biological father. Ji-hoon responds that Kwon-jae's action was okay, as he has yet to achieve his debut. As a result, he decides to give up on chasing that dream. Ji-hoon, who had initially planned to study to become a civil servant again, faced opposition from Kwon-jae, who wanted Ji-hoon to pursue his own dreams rather than obey Kwon-jae's demands. Kwon-jae had hoped that Ji-hoon would not follow in his footsteps and live a life full of regrets due to procrastination. These words making Ji-hoon leaving abruptly and run as fast as he could. Seeing Ji-hoon approaching him with determination, Kwon-jae realized that he didn't want to postpone or regret things any longer. Ji-hoon finally confessed that he had harbored feelings for Woo-sung all this time. During this conversation, Yoon-jae overheard everything Ji-hoon said. Although Woo-sung remained skeptical about that words, she insisted that she didn't have romantic feelings for him and had never seen him as a potential partner. Yoon-jae, who had been eavesdropping, couldn't help but feel sorry for Ji-hoon as he faced rejection. In the end, Yoon-jae ended up eating the food by himself. The next day, Woo-sung rushed to work to avoid Ji-hoon, but her plan didn't work. Ji-hoon made it clear that he wouldn't let her go and would do whatever he wanted. Drill, who overheard this, hoped that Ji-hoon was just pretending. Ji-hoon, who was no longer a trainee, called himself a quitter. This made him realize he was a burden with no memory. Things took a turn when they meet cockroaches, which made them look foolish. Malsuk quickly got rid of the cockroaches, making it even more embarrassing. And Ji-hoon, at the bakery, gave Yoon-jae a chance to find the hidden money in Woo-sung's room, but it was nowhere to be found. However, Yoon-jae didn't give up and believed the money was somewhere. After work, Woo-sung got a surprise from Ji-hoon, but he told her not to expect anything. At that time, Ji-hoon tried to make physical contact as Yoon-jae had taught him, but it backfired and Woo-sung knew that Yoon-jae had taught him this ancient technique. Meanwhile, at the company, MJ realized their phones were switched and visited Woo-sung, thinking she and Ji-hoon were dating. Woo-sung denied it emphatically. Behind the scenes, there's Yoon-jae, who's trying to figure out how to meet MJ. Actually, he was looking for someone at that time. When Woo-sung was enjoying some time alone, Yoon-jae approached and asked why she turned down Ji-hoon. Woo-sung honestly explained that she only had Ji-hoon by her side and didn't want to date him because she was afraid of losing him again. The next day, Bovi heard that Kwon-jae didn't want to apologize to Young-jae for being rude. Then Bovi secretly met Young-jae and asked to borrow money, but Young-jae offered her a contract as an artist and gave her the money for free. On the other hand, Woo-sung, who was an intern, had to go climbing on her day off. Because she didn't have climbing shoes, she ended up spraining her foot. Meanwhile, Ji-hoon received many calls and messages from people claiming to be his fans. This happened because MG's fans had posted photos of Ji-hoon looking very handsome while working part-time at a bakery. At the same time, Kwon-jae found Bo his contract from Young-jae's company and scolded Bovi. Not wanting to be a burden, she decided to move to an agency that could quickly produce an album for her. However, this made Kwon-jae angry at Young-jae for trying to seduce Bovi by promising to make an album. However, he realized that he hadn't been able to release an album for Bovi and asked Young-jae to take good care of her. On the other hand, Woo-sung, with her hurting leg, didn't want things to get awkward by asking Ji-hoon for a ride. Instead, she asked Yoon-jae for help to pay off her debts. Yoon-jae saw this as an opportunity to bring Woo-sung and Ji-hoon together. But Ji-hoon had to turn off his phone because fans were bothering him, so he couldn't see Yoon-jae's messages. Around that time, Drill shared news that the company was looking for Ji-hoon because his picture had become popular online. Thinking Ji-hoon left to pick up Woo-sung, Yoon-jae misunderstood and later found out Ji-hoon was at his agency. Meanwhile, Woo-sung was still waiting for a ride. When Ji-hoon finally turned on his phone, he saw Yoon-jae's message but chose to pick up Woo-sung. However, Yoon-jae got there first and carried Woo-sung downstairs, and Ji-hoon arrived late. Soon after, they went to a restaurant because Woo-sung was hungry. However, Yoon-jae didn't eat and just watched her with a smile. Looking in the mirror, he realized that the woman was the one his own son liked, even though she wasn't his type. The next day, Kwon Jae congratulated Bo Hee for signing with a big agency. Secretly, he looked at the engagement ring he'd never given her. Meanwhile, Yoon Jae was annoyed that Ji-hoon didn't pick up Woo-sung the day before. Ji-hoon didn't explain and instead asked if Yoon Jae liked Woo-sung. Yoon Jae, though a bit unsure, insisted he didn't like her because he had high standards for women. At that time, Ji-hoon made it clear that he didn't want Yoon Jae meddling in his love life after the incident from yesterday. Meanwhile, at work, Woo-sung was asked for help again by MJ, and her task left her feeling frustrated when she saw the final result. Back home, she saw Ji-hoon's kindness and determination not to give up on anything. On the other hand, Yoon Jae continued to think about the troubles faced by Soon-tae and Kwon Jae due to their building's financial issues. The following day, Yoon Jae visited Yeon Jae's company, shocking him to see his supposedly dead friend. Without hesitation, Yoon Jae admitted he was the same Yoon Jae. This reminded Yeon Jae of the day he caught a glimpse of Bo Hee and realized it wasn't a hallucination. There, Yoon Jae implied that Yeon Jae had become successful by using songs from his music book. He wanted money and a suitable job, unable to explain his lack of aging. Then he introduced himself as Kim Da-bong. Thanks to this, Kwon Jae's debt was paid off. At that time, Kwon Jae only knew that Bo Hee had signed a contract with Yeon Jae's company. Meanwhile, Drill teased Woo-sung during an interview, causing Ji-hoon to miss his chance to debut because he left in the middle of it. Woo-sung and Drill were both surprised when they found out that Ji-hoon had come that night, and they hadn't met. Then Woo-sung asked Ji-hoon about it, and he lied, saying he hadn't seen her that night. All Woo-sung could say at the time was thank you and apologize. During this moment, Woo-sung pleaded with him to be friends again and said their friendship wouldn't make Ji-hoon dare to kiss her. Hearing that, Ji-hoon rejected this idea and emphasized that they couldn't be friends anymore. Remembering the incident, she got annoyed and vented her anger by hitting Ji-hoon. The next day, while working, Woo-sung accidentally tripped and injured herself and one of the idols. The director scolded her, as she was just an intern. Suddenly, Yoon Jae, who was now known as the new executive producer, arrived. There, Yoon Jae scolded the director for not putting up barriers when filming in a public place. Woo-sung also asked why Yoon Jae was there, and he admitted that he worked there and his memory had started to return a bit. At that time, Yoon Jae's sweet action to Woo-sung are being watched by the workers. On a different note, Soon-tae, who was at a regular checkup, received a diagnosis of early-stage dementia. But during moments like these, all he wants is to remember that Mal-suk is his granddaughter, as she's lost her parents. At that moment, Soon-tae is scared of losing his grandfather role. On the other hand, Woo-sung is still finding it hard to believe that Yoon Jae is a producer now. Yoon Jae explained that his memory hasn't returned, but his music talent got him the job. Woo-sung no longer doubts Yoon Jae's perfect lie, but she scolds him for his past actions that could have spread strange rumors. Meanwhile, Ji-hoon, who has a new hairstyle, unexpectedly meets Hae-ri at the bakery. There, Hae-ri tells him that another agency will soon get in touch with him. Ji-hoon's second chance at debuting still makes him uncertain. During that moment, Hae-ri admitted that she couldn't fill Ji-hoon's heart and asked him to stop being nice to her and instead try to hurt her. When Drill returned home, he heard about an incident at the company, but it turned out the stories were greatly exaggerated. At that time, Drill asked Woo-sung how she knew their new producer and requested an introduction. Yoon Jae could only silently mock him, and Drill went back to treating Yoon Jae rudely as usual. The next day, Yoon Jae casually asked Yeon Jae for money again. Yeon Jae allowed this but secretly learned about Yoon Jae's current life. He discovered that Yoon Jae was living at Kwon Jae's house and using Kwon Jae's phone number. Meanwhile, Yoon Jae accidentally noticed the close relationship between MJ and Woo-sung, which made him curious. He didn't accept it when MJ invited Woo-sung to eat with him and insisted that Woo-sung spend the day with him. During that time, Yoon Jae invited Woo-sung to pick out clothes that suited her. Woo-sung was impressed by his good looks. Yoon Jae, who also bought her a new set of clothes, was fascinated by her, although he managed to hide his feelings. On their way, Yoon Jae was excited about the automatic photo stickers and convinced Woo-sung to give them a try, which she reluctantly agreed to. They enjoyed their time together like people on a date. When Woo-sung wanted to go home, Yoon Jae blocked her path and took her to a restaurant. This restaurant held special memories for Woo-sung, as it was the last place she remembered being with her father. Yoon Jae's efforts to bring her there paid off, and Woo-sung was deeply moved and thanked him. Meanwhile, Ji-hoon received good news that he had passed the audition thanks to an agency introduced by Hae-ri. When Woo-sung returned, Ji-hoon shared the news and told her that she was his dream, the one dream that hadn't come true yet. Although Woo-sung wanted to scold him, she was saved by Ji-hoon's realization that his first dream had come true. The following day, Drill found a hidden letter and lied about going to his cousin's wedding. While Ji-hoon went fishing with Kwang-jae, he invited Woo-sung to join them later. On a quiet night, Ji-hoon told Kwang-jae that he didn't want to debut at the agency because he wanted his own father to make his debut. Ji-hoon had seen many people in the entertainment industry, but none were as sincere as his father. At the same time, Yoon-jae felt a bit uneasy when Woo-sung asked about trying kimbap at a crowded restaurant. However, he went along with her request and waited for their turn. The rain started again, causing concern for both of them. At that time, Yoon-jae pretended to suggest a walk. Back home, they realized they were alone for the night. The situation got awkward when Woo-sung found her bedroom door broken and couldn't open it. Inside, she found the kimbap she had wanted to try, and Yoon-jae lied that he bought it because there was no line. In the bathroom, Yoon-jae, who was still admiring himself, met cockroaches again. This made both of them scream and led to a very embarrassing situation for Yoon-jae. Despite the awkwardness, they eventually managed to sleep, teasing each other before drifting off. Woo-sung woke up to Yoon-jae's strange voice and found him with a high fever. Then she took care of him throughout the night. The following day, Woo-sung woke up and discovered Yoon-jae's sweet treatment. Without feeling awkward, Yoon-jae asked why she slept like that. Woo-sung, without answering, immediately made him porridge upon seeing that his condition hadn't improved. Her kindness made Yoon-jae continue to take advantage of the situation, and Ji-hoon, who came home, found out that they were alone last night. This made him jealous and annoyed. Then, while he came to get his watch, Ji-hoon saw Yoon-jae's watch, which looked just like his own. It reminded him of the day he accused Yoon-jae of taking his watch. On another note, Kwang-jae, who wanted to help Ji-hoon debut, suggested to Soon-tae to restart their agency, even though Soon-tae was still hiding his illness. They also considered getting investment. Meanwhile, Yeon-jae finally confirmed Da Bong's true identity as Yoon-jae through fingerprint analysis. This continued to confuse him about why Yoon-jae's face hadn't aged. On the other hand, Yoon-jae, who had come to realize his feelings for Woo-sung, didn't want to stay away from her. His kindness and treatment made Woo-sung feel strange. Spontaneously, Yoon-jae mentioned that he seemed to like Woo-sung, but quickly changed the topic. Meanwhile, in the studio, Woo-sung accidentally deleted a composer's music data. The lack of data backup made her frustrated. Yoon-jae defended Woo-sung by criticizing those who didn't follow the basic rule of backing up their data. He then recreated the file from memory. After hearing the music, Yoon-jae, who had recently learned about this technology, really impressed Woo-sung. Too much praise also made Yoon-jae feel a bit strange. When he got back home, Ji-hoon spoke to Yoon-jae, pleading with him to stop liking Woo-sung since he still didn't remember who he was or where he came from. Even though he was avoiding her, Woo-sung tried to act normally, though she sensed something unusual about Yoon-jae's behavior. However, Ji-hoon's words continued to trouble Yoon-jae. The next day, Yoon-jae's longing made him watch Woo-sung from a distance. When caught, Woo-sung told him that he could scold her if she made a mistake instead of avoiding her like this. But Yoon-jae still didn't want to express his feelings of fear, which annoyed Woo-sung once again. Meanwhile, in Yeon-jae's office, Yoon-jae accidentally saw his music book, which Yeon-jae had taken after he disappeared. He also noticed some writings that weren't in his book, which dated back to 1993. As a result, Yoon-jae swapped the books. He took the one he used until 1994 and gave the 1993 book to Yeon-jae. Meanwhile, Soon-tae, who wants to fight dementia, decided to buy a book on how to fight it. However, he even forgot where he had last placed the book and searched everywhere for it. Despite the days passing by, he still couldn't find it. Surprisingly, he had actually placed the book in Mal-suk's bag. Not wanting to give up, Soon-tae continued reading the dementia book. However, when he was getting ready for school, he accidentally put the book back into Mal-suk's bag. On the way home, Woo-sung coincidentally ran into Yoon-jae, who was also seeking shelter from the rain. There, Yoon-jae immediately offered her an umbrella. When Woo-sung asked if they could go home together, Yoon-jae rejected her, claiming that he was waiting for someone. Back at home, Woo-sung, worried about the heavy rain, unexpectedly encountered Yoon-jae in the middle of the road. There, Yoon-jae suddenly hugged Woo-sung, unable to contain his feelings any longer. At the same time, Ji-hoon, who saw his father calling Yoon-jae, picked up the phone. The interrupted words made Ji-hoon hear Kwang-jae referring to the owner of the cell phone as Yoon-jae. After that incident, Woo-sung asked if there was something bothering Yoon-jae. Without hesitation, Yoon-jae replied that the problem had disappeared when he saw Woo-sung's face. Feeling like he can't hold it back any longer, he confessed that he had liked Woo-sung all along. On the way home, Yoon-jae used the opportunity to get closer to Woo-sung. However, Woo-sung, who had not yet responded to his feelings, remained silent and let him be. On the other hand, Ji-hoon finally learned the true story of what happened to Yoon-jae from his father. There, Kwang-jae wanted to reveal that Yoon-jae was Ji-hoon's biological father, but he interrupted and insisted that his father was only Kwang-jae. Kwang-jae clarified that both he and Yoon-jae weren't dating when Yoon-jae traveled back in time, so he didn't know they had a child. After knowing this truth, Ji-hoon didn't want his father to inform Yoon-jae that he already knew the truth. Meanwhile, in her room, Woo-sung secretly pondered the two people who had confessed their feelings to her. She also planned to move away from that place. Meanwhile, Kwang-jae was considering restarting his small company. He discovered that Bo-hee still hadn't signed a contract with Young-jae's company, raising questions about whether their debt would be paid off, even though Bo-hee hadn't signed the contract yet. The next day, at Young-jae's office, MJ and Yoon-jae finally had a private conversation. Yoon-jae admitted that he was the songwriter who had been using MJ's name for the songs. Without hesitation, MJ confessed to feeling embarrassed and asked Yoon-jae to teach him how to write songs, as he wanted to stop deceiving his fans. Yoon-jae agreed, on the condition that MJ would no longer make Woo-sung do his work. Meanwhile, Woo-sung had the appearance of Na, her friend who had once betrayed her in a relationship with her ex-boyfriend. When Yoon-jae saw them together, he realized that Woo-sung's friend was the same one Drill had mentioned. Then Yoon-jae invited Na to eat with them and continued to act affectionately towards Woo-sung in front of her friends, making Na appear jealous of their relationship. After the meal, Yoon-jae told Na that they shouldn't meet again. Finally, Woo-sung felt relieved by all the revenge, and Yoon-jae seemed very satisfied with the outcome. The next day, Ji-hoon visited Woo-sung at work and promised to watch a movie with her. During the film, he couldn't stop staring at Woo-sung. At the movie, Ji-hoon heard how she felt about Yoon-jae. Despite her initial doubts, Woo-sung honestly admitted that she also seemed to have feelings for Yoon-jae. This response made Ji-hoon think that maybe their relationship would be different if they hadn't started as friends. Ji-hoon expressed regret that it all began with their friendship. The following day, Kwang-jae shared that he had secured the investment. This led to Yoon-jae agreeing to create a song to launch Ji-hoon's debut. During this conversation, Kwang-jae finally discovered that Yoon-jae was the one who had helped Young-jae clear his debts. In the recording studio, Yoon-jae asked Woo-sung to sing the song he had composed, explaining that only a female voice would suit it. He then admitted that he had created the song with Woo-sung in mind and kissed her. On the other hand, Ji-hoon found Drill working and learned that Drill had been fired by his agency. Soon after, Ji-hoon invited Drill to debut with him at his father's agency, and Drill, trusting Ji-hoon, agreed and promised not to lie again. However, Junior and Senior Drill witnessed this conversation and realized that Drill had completed his military service and had been lying about his age. Meanwhile, Young-jae failed Kwang-jae's company's efforts to secure the investment. He also stole Yoon-jae's song, which was originally intended for Kwang-jae's agency, with the intention of giving it to MJ. On the other hand, Woo-sung eventually found a new rental house through her senior colleagues. Without informing Ji-hoon about her plans to move, she organized a farewell party with them. After enjoying the festivities, Woo-sung finally told Ji-hoon that she would be moving out the next day and expressed her gratitude for his help thus far. During the day, Woo-sung couldn't find or get in touch with Yoon-jae. When she returned to her new apartment, she found the door open and saw some people inside. Without thinking, she thought it was a thief and accidentally hit the person. It turns out that person was Yoon-jae, who had come to help Woo-sung clean her new place. Later on, she discovered that there were many pictures of Yoon-jae stuck to various things in her house. The next day, Yoon-jae encouraged Ji-hoon, who was about to make his debut. During their conversation, Ji-hoon revealed that he had known all along that Da-bong was Yoon-jae. Ji-hoon also made it clear that his real father was Kwang-jae and asked Yoon-jae not to interfere in his life anymore. At that time, Woo-sung overheard this conversation, and it made Yoon-jae chase after her to explain the strange events that had happened to him. Woo-sung didn't fully believe it, but she knew that Yoon-jae had an old-fashioned way of thinking. During their talk, Yoon-jae admitted that he was wrong to start a relationship with Woo-sung. He realized that Woo-sung was the one his own son loved, and he knew he would eventually return to his own time. However, he couldn't help but still have feelings for her. Unfortunately, this honesty led her asking him to go back to his own time. Kwon-jae finally admitted that Ji-hoon had known the truth for a long time. Yoon-jae, regretting the pain he had caused Ji-hoon, could only hope that if he had come from 1994, things would be different, and he would be happier if he met Bo-hee and Ji-hoon. The next day, Kwon-jae officially started his own company. He also decided to launch Ji-hoon and Drill as a duet instead of a whole group. They agreed to this and brainstormed ideas for their group's name. During these days, Woo-sung and Yoon-jae were both busy with their jobs, but secretly they missed each other. Despite this, they still felt hesitant about rekindling their relationship. While searching for his work schedule in Kwon-jae's room, Yoon-jae accidentally spotted Kwon-jae's wedding ring. Meanwhile, due to Yoon-jae's actions, Kwon-jae's company lost an investment that was abruptly cancelled. On the other hand, Woo-sung and Ji-hoon continued to share stories with each other as usual. Before parting ways, Ji-hoon sincerely assured Woo-sung that he would always support her, no matter what she chose to do. He didn't want Woo-sung to make things hard for herself, especially when she had a friend like him. When Ji-hoon returned home, Yoon-jae invited him to go somewhere with lots of equipment. On the way, Ji-hoon realized it was for camping. He couldn't help but be annoyed by Yoon-jae's impulsive behavior. However, when they arrived at the campsite, Ji-hoon was pleasantly surprised by their successful collaboration. They did end up arguing again, though, when Yoon-jae brought the wrong equipment. On a calm night, Yoon-jae apologized to Ji-hoon for not telling the truth. During their conversation, it was revealed that Yoon-jae came from the year 1993, a time when he wasn't in a relationship with Ji-hoon's mother yet. There, Ji-hoon wanted to understand why his father had left them, and Yoon-jae could only say sorry. His kindness during this conversation helped Ji-hoon feel a bit better. Yoon-jae also had a message for Woo-sung: not to always focus on the future because happiness can be found in the present moment. He promised not to bother Woo-sung anymore. The following day, Yoon-jae learned that Kwon-jae had lost his investor, and he found it suspicious that the investment was suddenly cancelled. Knowing that MJ's contract was about to end, Yoon-jae offered to introduce him to Kwon-jae. Meanwhile, while cleaning up Woo-sung's room, Yoon-jae came across a piggy bank with a distinctive mark on it. Inside, he found the hidden key to the bank that held items from 1994. He used the secret code that Bo-hee always used to meet him, and it turned out to be the combination to open the bank. Inside, Yoon-jae found the money he had saved in the form of a check. He also found a piece of paper from his songbook, and the writing on it made him sigh. Yoon-jae met Yoon-jae and offered him all the money in exchange for letting MJ go by not renewing their contract. Tempted by the large sum of money, Yoon-jae immediately agreed. Conveniently, the contracts of both MJ and Yoon-jae had come to an end. When Kwon-jae heard about this, he was very upset with Yoon-jae for giving away all his money, but it turned out that Yoon-jae's actions had a purpose. The check he gave to Yoon-jae was from a bank that had gone bankrupt a long time ago. Yoon-jae just realized this, and Kwon-jae went to meet his investors and introduced their new artist who had signed contracts. MJ was among them and successfully convinced Kwon-jae to accept the investment. Yoon-jae, who had been angry with Yoon-jae, faced trouble when the song Yoon-jae had taken turned out to be a trap. At that time, Yoon-jae seemed to have anticipated that his song might be stolen, so he created a special children's song for Yoon-jae, promoting the idea of being a good person and respecting others' rights. Meanwhile, at the bakery, Yoon-jae accidentally came across some security camera footage featuring Kwon-jae. He decided to show this recording to Bo-hee. In the footage, he was seen practicing how to propose to Bo-hee. This heartfelt moment led Bo-hee to tightly hug Kwon-jae. On the other hand, Yoon-jae, who had been planning to leave, mustered up the courage to meet Woo-sung one last time. Woo-sung, fearing she might regret it, hurried to meet Yoon-jae. Unfortunately, she didn't spot him, thinking that Yoon-jae had already departed. Little did she know, Yoon-jae was still there, and they missed each other. Yoon-jae then took Woo-sung back to his apartment, but instead of anything else, Woo-sung used the opportunity to convince Yoon-jae to cook ramen for her. This led to a disagreement over their differing appetites. Woo-sung asked Yoon-jae where he was planning to go, and since he didn't have a clear destination, he was offered the option to stay with Woo-sung. In the meantime, Ji-hoon received a new watch as a gift from Yoon-jae and could only express his gratitude. On that somewhat awkward night, Yoon-jae continued to playfully tease Woo-sung. However, Woo-sung had prepared something to make Yoon-jae talk less. On the flip side, Ji-hoon and Drill finally received their new song. However, Ji-hoon felt that the song was quite similar to one he had written himself. It turned out that Yoon-jae had used Ji-hoon's song as inspiration to create the new one. Ji-hoon quickly realized that it was Yoon-jae behind this. On the other hand, Yoon-jae, who had lost MJ, had plans to inform the media that his former artist had been stealing songs. Yoon-jae, aware of this plan, once again warned Yoon-jae that it was actually Yoon-jae who had taken his song. This led Yoon-jae to suspect that Yoon-jae might be connected to his disappearance in 1994. Although Yoon-jae couldn't accept it, he tried to hold back tears while describing how his life had been after Yoon-jae vanished. Yoon-jae felt that Yoon-jae had never respected him and had always done things his own way. Yoon-jae, not one to easily express his feelings, could only apologize to Yoon-jae. There, Yoon-jae admitted that he was at the lake on the day Yoon-jae disappeared, and he mentioned that in the car, Yoon-jae was talking to someone whose face he couldn't see. This clue deepened Yoon-jae's curiosity about his disappearance. He also created a website where his fans still remembered him to this day. He even came across one of his fans who had become a doctor. For some reason, Yoon-jae asked to meet this fan as fellow enthusiasts. At that time, the fans were really surprised when they noticed the resemblance between their idol and a man named Da Bong. This Yoon-jae's curiosity about a particular illness. He learned that back in the 90s, this illness couldn't be cured, but in the 2000s, they found a remedy. It turned out that what was written in that piece of sheet music reflected Yoon-jae's sadness in 1994 when he was dealing with an incurable disease. In his article, Yoon-jae expressed his hope to disappear and be remembered as a star, so people would understand his pain and always have sympathy for him. Around that time, he also saw news about a current koala storm, similar to the one in 1993. Meanwhile, Soon-tae, who had gone out, fell asleep at a bus stop. His recurring illness caused him to wander endlessly and forget his cell phone there. Yoon-jae, who might return to his world soon, tried to appear happy in front of Woo-sung, even though he was deeply worried inside. The following day, Kwon-jae searched for Soon-tae, who hadn't come home since the previous night. Soon-tae was increasingly sad and still wondering where he was. On another note, MJ decided to let go of all his burdens. He admitted to the media that he had never written a song and chose to take a break for a while. Meanwhile, Hwang-jae had to focus on finding more investment. Yoon-jae met Woo-sung again and enjoyed their time together, temporarily forgetting all his problems. As night descended, Hwang-jae finally reported Soon-tae as a missing person by accident to the police. During this process, Hwang-jae stumbled upon a letter that Yoon-jae had given to Soon-tae back in 1994. On the other hand, Soon-tae, who had always been upset with Yoon-jae, had never opened the letter. It turned out that the letter contained Yoon-jae's apology for causing financial losses to his company and shares that were now worth 1.3 billion. Finally, at the police station, Soon-tae asked about its contents. At Woo-sung's house, Ji-hoon and Drill paid a visit, causing Yoon-jae to hide. During this time, Drill suspected that Woo-sung had mistakenly taken his clothes. Then he insisted on checking a cupboard, where he thought Yoon-jae might be hiding. However, Woo-sung, claiming the door was broken, suggested Ji-hoon fix it instead. When the door finally opened, they found Drill's clothes inside. Ji-hoon then invited Drill to go back home with him, revealing that they had just arrived. Ji-hoon had seen someone hiding in the cupboard, whom he thought was Yoon-jae. It seemed like Ji-hoon had decided to give up on Woo-sung and be with the person he loved. Around the same time, Kwon-jae arrived at the police station and continued to scold Soon-tae, causing her to worry. Despite not being related by blood, these two had a bond that went beyond the word family. On their way, Kwon-jae struggled to hold back his tears, while Soon-tae was mainly concerned about his granddaughter and asked Kwon-jae to take care of her. In the middle of the night, while Woo-sung was asleep, Yoon-jae secretly left. He was seen waiting for a storm while looking at their photos. When the storm finally arrived, Yoon-jae returned to his own world. Yoon-jae woke up in the hospital and remembered the incident. He had been injured from falling down the stairs. The doctor said that Yoon-jae had been unconscious for a long time and often mentioned Woo-sung's name in his sleep. The doctor and nurse then asked Yoon-jae for an autograph, which made him realize he had returned to the past. At first, he thought it was all a dream, but he saw the sticker that Woo-sung had given him. Then a doctor greeted Yoon-jae and told him he didn't have an appointment today because he had one yesterday. Yoon-jae was shocked when he found out it was 1994, and he remembered today's date as the date he disappeared. Young-jae immediately called Kwang-jae, who still held a grudge against him. Nonetheless, Kwang-jae came to see Yoon-jae. Unbeknownst to them, Young-jae had been secretly following Kwang-jae. During their meeting, Yoon-jae took the time to tease Kwang-jae about his old-fashioned appearance. He also asked for his help to find someone named Yoon-jae, claiming that there was an imposter pretending to be him. After discovering this, the imposter turned out to be in another city. Arriving at his parents' gravesite, Yoon-jae received a clue that had just come to him. He also remembered the nearby lake. In 1994 at the lake, he saw himself scattering his parents' ashes. Yoon-jae in 1994 looked pale and sick, as if he would join his parents soon. As night fell, Yoon-jae's worsening condition filled him with fear and anger. At that moment, Yoon-jae from 1993 and the future finally met the Yoon-jae from 1994. The 1994 Yoon-jae, who was shocked, tried to calm himself down with the help of the 1993 Yoon-jae. He explained all the strange events and revealed that he would disappear at that place. The 1994 Yoon-jae found it hard to believe, especially since he looked so different, but he had no choice but to accept it. Unbeknownst to them, Young-jae was watching from a distance but couldn't recognize the 1993 and future versions of Yoon-jae. During their conversation, Yoon-jae told the 1994 Yoon-jae about the future lives of their friends, including his own child. As a strong lightning storm approached, the 1994 Yoon-jae mentioned that there would be twin storms, something he had heard on the radio. The 1993 Yoon-jae then suggested they go back to the studio roof. Seeing them leave, Young-jae seized the opportunity to steal Yoon-jae's music book from the roof. The 1993 Yoon-jae advised the 1994 Yoon-jae to use this chance to time travel to the future for a cure to his illness. However, the 1994 Yoon-jae chose to stay in 1994. He didn't want to escape his fate of death, and he worried that if he went to the future, his child might not be there. Therefore, he believed he had to remain in 1994 for the sake of Ji-hoon. In that moment, Yoon-jae left something for his son and told the 1993 Yoon-jae to return to his world. Then he traveled through time without knowing if he would end up in 1993 or the future. In the present, Ji-hoon and Drill found success after getting promoted on social media. They were about to make their TV debut as a group called JB, a name once suggested by Soon-tae. There Ji-hoon met Hae-ri, who had also successfully debuted, and they encouraged each other. At that time, JB's group was becoming more famous and receiving many offers to appear on TV. Meanwhile, Woo-sung worked as an employee at Kwang-jae's company, and MG was busy making his own songs. There MG asked for news about Yoon-jae, but Woo-sung said there was still no news. Despite the time that had passed, Woo-sung refused to give up hope and continued to wait for Hyun-jae. Every day she spent her time alone, missing her boyfriend. Meanwhile, Ji-hoon began to let go of his romantic feelings for Woo-sung. On another note, the relationship between Young-jae and Kwang-jae was improving. Despite their previous arguments, Kwang-jae and Bo-hee finally got married. Looking at a photo reminded Kwang-jae of his past attempt to propose to Bo-hee by hiding a ring in ice cream. However, he accidentally swallowed the ring, and even the doctor said it would take 2 or 3 days to come out. With no other option, Kwang-jae proposed using an X-ray photo, and his 20-year-long crush on Bo-hee finally paid off as she accepted and became his wife. Around the same time, Woo-sung spotted someone who looked like Yoon-jae. She chased after him but lost track of him. As time passed, she cried, fearing that Yoon-jae had forgotten her. The following day, Woo-sung finally saw the person she had missed so much. Yoon-jae's return allowed them to let go of their longing. There, Woo-sung asked about what happened to the 1994 Yoon-jae, and it seemed his fate remained the same, ensuring Ji-hoon's presence in this future. Kwang-jae finally met Yoon-jae and quickly asked for his help in composing songs and teaching artists. Soon-tae, who was still battling illness, spent time with his granddaughter. During this time, Kwang-jae pleaded with Yoon-jae not to leave again and invited him to grow old together. Soon after, Yoon-jae met Ji-hoon and received support to live in this world with Woo-sung. Then, Yoon-jae shared his experiences with his father, Ji-hoon, and gave him something important. This marked the beginning of a friendly relationship between the present Yoon-jae and Ji-hoon. Yoon-jae returns home and is greeted by a worried Woo-sung who fears he might disappear again. To ease her concerns, Yoon-jae becomes Woo-sung's neighbor the next day. That night, they gather together. It was mentioned that Drill and Ji-hoon would be moving to their practice studio, leaving their place, full of memories, temporarily empty. However, Yoon-jae didn't allow that to happen. He also moved there and turned it into a studio. This sudden move angered Woo-sung. Knowing that Woo-sung was afraid of him leaving once again, Yoon-jae reassured her that he wasn't going anywhere. In the end, the Yoon-jae from 1993 decided to stay in the future and would never leave the people he loved in the present. The series ends. The moral lesson from this series is if you want to have a unique proposal, just eat the ring you want to give to your favorite girl and propose her with X-ray photo instead. For sure it will be so memorable.